Joining us now to discuss the Gateway Tunnel project is John Wisniewski, a longtime New Jersey state legislator, former chair of the New Jersey State Assembly Transportation Committee, and a commissioner on the New Jersey Turnpike Authority. Thank you so much for joining us.
Joth, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So as someone who has followed the Hudson River Rail Tunnel issues for years, including the original ARC project and its cancellation under Governor Christie, how significant is the Gateway project to New Jersey's economy, commuters, and overall infrastructure resilience?
Well, it's important to New Jersey, but it's also important to New York. It's also important to the United States. The Northeast Corridor, the train line that runs through that tunnel, contributes a significant percentage to America's GDP. And so when President Trump is talking about hamstringing this project, cutting funding, making it harder to get it done, he's basically saying, as president, he wants to harm not only New Jersey and New York, but he wants to harm the nation. It makes absolutely no sense unless you really get into some type of psychological analysis of him just wanting to exert pressure because he childishly feels aggrieved for some reason.
So that letter from congressional Democrats, including Senators Booker and Kim, it stresses that the federal commitment that's already locked in, and that's $6.88 billion in grants plus other supports, and that a DOT review of diversity hiring practices appears complete. From your perspective, we were kind of talking about it a moment ago, is this holdup truly about compliance, or do you think it appears to be more political in nature?
Oh, it's clearly political. I mean, first of all, the review on diversity hiring is, again, just a smokescreen for President Trump and his allies to exert raw racism into national policy. He continues. I mean, remember last time there was a government shutdown to single out this project because he's very frustrated that voters in New York State, voters in New Jersey don't embrace the kind of crazy ideology that he represents. And so this is his only way of striking back.
So he has said publicly that he terminated the project during that shutdown, and he blamed Democrats like Chuck Schumer for blocking the progress. The White House now says Democrats won't negotiate. So what's your take on this back and forth, and how does it fit into broader patterns of federal state infrastructure funding?
So again, this is like the craziness that has been normalized under President Trump, trying to answer his statement that Democrats won't negotiate. What's to negotiate? This is a project that was agreed upon, that was funded, that he is the one who continually comes back in looking to take a second bite at the apple. And that's, Trumpism at its core. Whatever is agreed upon, whatever is the law, whatever is established, he seeks to upturn and overturn. And I think collectively what Leader Schumer, Senator Booker, Senator Kim, and everybody else who is advocating for this is doing the right thing. This is important for the nation. It's important for New York. It's important for New Jersey. It's important for all those communities along the Hudson River that depend on getting across that body of water. It's just sheer lunacy for the president or any of his allies, whether it's Stephen Miller or anybody else in the administration, to even suggest that this project should do anything other than be completed.
It's important also for the workers. The Gateway Development Commission says that they've exhausted their $500 million credit line, and they're going to have to lay off about 1,000 workers starting February 6th if those funds aren't released. So what would the immediate and long-term impacts be for New Jersey workers, families, and the Northeast Corridor rail network in general?
If Chris Christie hadn't canceled the original Trans-Hudson Tunnel, commuters would be using it today. And so the political gamesmanship that has plagued this tunnel has real devastating consequences. And one of those is the fact that there are a lot of people who depend on their livelihood about this project. And for a president that has been trying to make the argument that he is the leader who's best for the economy, cutting out thousands upon thousands of construction jobs, and don't forget, all of the downstream vendors that are supporting this project, whether they are engineering firms or the local food vendors that are feeding a workforce, this has devastating economic impact for the entire region, not just New Jersey.
And I believe we have seen some of those construction workers from my friends in New York City. I've seen them posting because some of the construction workers, they have been outspoken about the impact that it's going to potentially have on them. But this project, you brought up a point about leadership. It has historically enjoyed broad support from Republicans, from unions, business groups, and both states. So let's talk a little bit more about why you think it's become a flashpoint now and what you think it's going to take to get the funding flowing again quickly.
Well, it's not a flashpoint now. It's Republican leaders have used this as a political football. Chris Christie used this as a political football so that he could divert the money to the Transportation Trust Fund for other projects. It had nothing to do with the merits of the project. Now, his ally, the guy, remember, Chris Christie was the first person to endorse Donald Trump for president. Donald Trump is now taking a play out of the Christie playbook and saying, hey, I'm going to stop this project as well. It hurts ordinary working men and women, especially, the president doesn't realize there are people who voted for him that are going to be put out of work by his actions. There are people that support him ideologically that are going to be hurt by his actions. And I think what has to happen here is there has to be a bipartisan response, not just by New Jersey U.S. senators, but by New York U.S. senators, and on a bipartisan basis, the House delegations from both states saying that this is something that is a necessary addition to the American economy, not just a regional economy.
No, you got to my last question, which I was going to ask you what the message was to federal leaders. If you want to just give me a couple of seconds about what that message would be directly.
So this rail line is a vital link, not just between two states, but for an entire region. And statistics have shown from a variety of sources that this contributes a huge percentage to the gross domestic product of the United States. Not having this built will hurt us economically. Not having this built will show the world that the United States can't build big projects anymore. So it's bad for our economy, it's bad for our national security, and it's bad for our reputation in the world as a nation that used to be able to get big things done and now suddenly can't because political ideology matters more than actually getting something done.
Yeah, interesting. You're right. It does send a message. We're on kind of a global stage. Everybody's watching the hub, realistically, of the Northeast. So I appreciate your time, John. I appreciate your insight, and we'll check in with you sometime soon, I'm sure, as this progresses and develops.
Thanks, Joth. I appreciate the opportunity.